All right, y'all gather round. Tonight I have another tale for you while you roast those marshmallows. It's a story of what happened to a group of us on an overnight camping trip on a night just like tonight. Something happened to our group, something we would never, ever forget. The campfire crackled, a comforting warmth against the cool night air. The flames danced and flickered, casting a golden glow that seemed to chase away the chill of the evening. Above, a million stars twinkled, painting the vast canvas of the night sky. Each star seemed to tell its own story, a silent witness to the ages as constellations formed patterns that have guided travelers for centuries. A circle of friends illuminated by the flickering flames felt a million miles away from civilization. The worries of daily life seemed to melt away, replaced by a sense of camaraderie and connection that only such nights can bring. We were deep in the heart of the wilderness, surrounded by towering pines and the symphony of the wild. The rustling of leaves, the distant call of an owl, and the gentle whisper of the wind through the trees created a natural orchestra. Laughter echoed through the trees as they shared stories, each one fueled by the magic of the campfire. Tales of past adventures, dreams for the future, and the occasional ghost story kept the night alive with energy and excitement. Our supplies were neatly arranged nearby, tents, backpacks, and enough food to last us through the weekend. The organization of our gear was a testament to our preparation, ensuring that we could fully enjoy our time in the wild without worry. There was a shared sense of adventure in the air, that intoxicating feeling of freedom that only comes from being truly immersed in nature. The vast expanse of wilderness around us promised endless possibilities and uncharted paths to explore. As the night deepened, the fire began to die down, casting long, dancing shadows across our campsite. The embers glowed softly, their warmth a gentle reminder of the fire's earlier intensity. The stories we shared took on a spookier tone, tales of strange encounters and unexplained phenomena. Each story seemed to draw us closer together, the darkness around us amplifying the eerie atmosphere. We huddled closer to the warmth of the embers, our laughter tinged with a nervous excitement. The flickering light played tricks on our eyes, making the shadows seem to move and shift with a life of their own. The wilderness, so inviting just moments ago, now seemed to hold its breath, listening to our every word. The silence was profound, broken only by the occasional snap of a twig or the distant rustle of an unseen creature. The darkness beyond the reach of our firelight felt vast and unknowable, a hidden world teeming with unseen possibilities. It was as if the forest itself was alive, watching us, waiting for the next chapter of our adventure to unfold. A sudden rustle in the underbrush broke the spell, shattering the fragile peace of the night. We all fell silent, our conversations dying mid-sentence, our eyes darting towards the source of the sound, hearts pounding in unison. It was a faint noise, easily dismissed as the wind or a small animal, but it sent a shiver down my spine, a primal fear awakening within me. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end, a physical manifestation of the unease that gripped us all. We strained our ears, listening intently for any further disturbances, the silence around us becoming almost unbearable. The silence stretched on, thick and heavy, amplifying every cracking twig and rustling leaf, each sound magnified in the stillness. Then we heard it again, a sound that seemed to echo through the trees, more distinct this time. A low grunting sound, deep and guttural, seemed to rise from the very earth itself, reverberating through the ground beneath us. It was closer this time, closer to our camp, the sound growing louder and more menacing with each passing second. Fear tightened its grip on our chests, squeezing the air from our lungs, our breaths coming in shallow gasps. We exchanged uneasy glances, each of us hoping someone else had a logical explanation for the unsettling sounds, but finding none. But there was no denying the growing sense of dread that had settled over our once joyful campsite, a palpable tension that seemed to thicken the very air around us. The grunts became more frequent, punctuated by the heavy thud of footsteps. Each grunt seemed to resonate through the trees, sending shivers down our spines. The footsteps, heavy and deliberate, echoed in the stillness of the night, making it clear that whatever was out there was getting closer. Whatever was out there in the darkness was large, much larger than any animal we'd encountered before. Its silhouette loomed ominously, a dark shadow against the faint moonlight filtering through the trees. We could only guess at its size, but it was clear that this was no ordinary creature. The sounds seemed to be circling our campsite, drawing closer with each passing moment. The rustling of leaves and snapping of twigs created an eerie symphony that heightened our sense of dread. We felt like prey, surrounded and stalked by an unseen predator. Our laughter was gone, replaced by a suffocating silence broken only by the panicked beating of our own hearts. The once comforting crackle of the campfire now seemed insignificant against the oppressive darkness. We huddled together, our eyes wide with fear, each of us too scared to speak. We scrambled to our feet, our eyes desperately searching the impenetrable darkness beyond the firelight. Every shadow seemed to move, every rustle a potential threat. We strained our ears, trying to pinpoint the source of the sounds. But the darkness played tricks on our senses. The air grew thick with fear, the smell of pine needles and wood smoke suddenly replaced by the metallic tang of adrenaline. Our breaths came in short, shallow gasps as we tried to steady our nerves. The forest, once a place of adventure, had transformed into a realm of terror. Our imaginations ran wild, conjuring up images of terrifying creatures with glowing eyes and razor-sharp teeth. Every flicker of light seemed to reveal monstrous forms lurking just beyond our sight. We could almost feel their breath on our necks, hear their low growls in the distance. We were trapped, alone and vulnerable in the heart of the wilderness with something sinister closing in. The sense of isolation was overwhelming, and the realization that no one would hear our cries for help only deepened our despair. We knew we had to face whatever was out there, but the fear was paralyzing. "Someone go see what it is," a voice whispered, breaking the terrified silence. It was Emily, her voice surprisingly steady despite the fear etched on her face. She was the smallest of our group, but in that moment, she seemed to radiate a quiet strength. We all nodded in agreement, though none of us were eager to volunteer. "I'll go," I said, my voice hoarse. I wasn't sure where the courage came from, but Emily was right. Someone had to face the unknown. I grabbed the largest flashlight I could find, its beam a pitiful defense against the vast darkness that surrounded us. That's when I noticed the camp shovel sitting beside someone's pack. It wasn't much, even for an entrenching tool, but it was all I had. Taking a deep breath, I stepped into the unknown, my heart pounding in my chest. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and pine needles. The beam of my flashlight danced across the trees, their branches twisting into grotesque shapes in the darkness. The grunts grew louder, closer, urging me forward. My heart threatened to burst out of my chest as I stumbled through the undergrowth, every sense on high alert. And then I saw it. Two large, luminous eyes blinked in the darkness, mere feet from where I stood, frozen in fear. The grunting stopped, replaced by a new sound, a soft snort. I held my breath, slowly raising my flashlight to reveal a cow. A large brown cow, its head tilted inquisitively as it stared at me with mild curiosity, as it spoke to me with a deep moo. I laughed out loud and responded, "Moo? Really? All of this for a cow?" The others overheard and started laughing. "It must have wandered off from that farm we passed on the way in," I commented, still fascinated and relieved that it was just a cow, and a calm one at that. By now, the others had found their way over to my new friend and I. Though the beast was docile, it still could cause some problems if it were to get spooked, and our tents would do nothing to protect us from a large, frantic cow trampling us while we slept. We needed to do something with it. Jason had wandered back to the camp and returned with a rope. He was working it into some design I wasn't familiar with, but I remembered he spent time on his grandfather's ranch, working cattle and horses. Jason put a halter around the cow, and the cow didn't even flinch. It must have been trained and used to being led around with a halter. Lucky for us indeed. Jason attached the other end of the rope to a large sturdy tree. That should hold it for a while, but we needed to come up with a plan. I volunteered to go check with the farmer so the others could return to camp. The sun was coming up and everyone was tired. When I returned with the farmer, they had breakfast ready. The farmer left with his missing heifer, and we all laughed about the story we had to tell. So campers, remember this tale when you hear strange noises in the woods. Sometimes what sounds terrifying could be a peaceful creature that is lost, attracted to the light or heat of your campfire. That said, you should always be cautious in that situation because it could just as easily be a predator. Be prepared for what Mother Nature may throw at you. Know what kinds of beasts live in the woods you're camping in and have a game plan, just in case one finds you. Now, someone hand me some more marshmallows.